party started. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. You can call the roll, please.
Jennifer Harden.
Here.
Belinda Grassi.
Here.
Tom Mack.
Here.
Lori Kniske.
Here.
Jack Miley.
Here.
Here, go ahead and stand for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. On behalf of the board, I would like to welcome all staff, students, parents, and interested community members to tonight's Board of Education meeting. I'd like to remind everyone this is a meeting of the Board of Education held in public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business that is not to be considered a public meeting. There is time for public comment during the meeting in the public participation section on the agenda. First up, I need to make a quick motion to adjourn to executive session at 7:01 p.m. for personnel matters, appointment and/or employment, and compensation. If I can have a second, please.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Hack. Is there any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Lori Kniske.
Aye.
Jack Miley.
Aye.
Jennifer Harden.
Aye.
Belinda Grassi.
Aye.
Tom Mack.
Aye.
Motion carried. So go back to regular session. If I can have a second, please.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Hack. Call the roll, please.
Jack Miley.
Aye.
Jennifer Harden.
Aye.
Belinda Grassi.
Aye.
Tom Mack.
Aye.
Lori Kniske.
Aye. Motion carried. All right. First up is our approval of minutes. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the March 23rd, 2021 board meeting and the April 12th, 2021 special meeting. If I can have a second, please.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Jennifer Harden.
Aye.
Belinda Grassi.
Aye.
Tom Mack.
Aye.
Lori Kniske.
Aye.
Jack Miley.
Aye.
Motion carried. And that takes us to special reports.
Okay, we do have a special report today, Mrs. Harden. We're engaged in an initiative to invite elected officials kindly representing not only our community but our school district. And today we have Gabe Cicconetti here, who is our Painesville Township trustee, one of three. And when I was thinking about introducing him, I thought, all right, number one, he's an alumnus, right? Went to school here. He's a resident, obviously, or otherwise he wouldn't be representing us. Number three, he's also a parent of children in our district, a couple kids, and he's also a business owner as well in our district. So if you talk about someone who's really vested in our community, it's Gabe Cicconetti. So we appreciate you coming here.
No problem. Appreciate the invitation. So I guess kind of give a state of the township, if you will. What's kind of going on in the township, some things we have going on, some projects, some things that have recently been completed or that are in the works right now. First thing we've been working on for quite a while is the CRA, which is a community reinvestment area. So this is going to allow us, you're probably familiar with these, to incentivize residents and businesses to make improvements to their houses, their buildings, etc., that then will give them a tax abatement for a certain amount of years against those improvements. We're hoping that'll incentivize our community to make some improvements to the home that maybe they've been pushing off if they know there's going to be some tax benefit to doing it, as well as businesses. So that's something that we're hoping as time goes on, we'll see some fruit bear from that. And as far as in the business aspect, business development in our township, we're seeing a lot of businesses come in. We've seen a lot of national chains coming in. Tractor Supply Plus on Menor Avenue, that was a big thing coming in for us. This is a little old, but they're kind of just getting ramped back up because of the past year, but Planet Fitness in the township going into Painesville Shopping Center, or Painesville Commons. Hopefully that's the start of rejuvenating that building or that plaza. As we all know, that's been somewhat deteriorating over the years. The new owners aren't very active or eager to make improvements unless there's people willing to move in. So we're hoping that getting an anchor in there like Planet Fitness will help start to bring some other, and we're seeing some other small businesses come in there. So we're hoping that'll help spur even more to get in there and start filling it up to start filling it back up and see some improvements. Aldi made, very large investment in our community, renovating and adding on to their building. I don't know if you guys have been there, but if you haven't, you should go check it out. It's very nice inside now. It rivals the Mentor location across from the mall. And then Best Truck is a large local company that moved their operation to Painesville Township, and they're investing in building new buildings and such. And we have a couple other things can't really talk about now that hopefully if they come to fruition will be a very very big thing for us in the township. As far as residential goes, we've got a lot of residential development coming in, which is, as we know, Lake County's aging. A lot of these new developments are bringing in younger families, which is good for our community, keep it young and thriving. That kind of goes with as the businesses come in, we're going to see younger families, and we hope, that'll one hand brings the other in. Tanner Farms, which has kind of been a dead development over on Madison Avenue. It's right towards the border of Perry. If you're heading towards Riverside Drive on Madison Avenue on the left. The guy purchased that from Poe-Built Homes, so he'll be finishing that off. Instead of doing condos, he's looking to do fee simple lots there, so more single-family homes. The Brooks, which is part of Lake Erie Shores, the same developer bought that, and he's going to put that in fee simple instead of condos as well. So we're going to hoping that single-family homes there. And then what was Fairway Pines Golf Course is now entering phase 4, so that's going to be bringing out a large balance of the homes that they were building in a couple 300, I think now. So, and then there's the last phase. We don't know if they'll get there. In regards to that, we are getting into some stormwater mitigation issues that we've had in the township. Fairway Pines, the Brooks, and Lake Erie Shores being one of them. We have a large retention basin that we're going to build down there. The Menor Avenue area, Barton Ditch, which is Jackson Street, Menor Avenue, all the way up to Fairgrounds. That's had a problem for many, many years, so we're working with stormwater to help improve that. And then up here on Riverside Drive area, up Paradise and those types, we're looking for some stormwater improvements up there to help out some residents and improve this, their properties, which in turn will help us improve property values. Community events. We're proud to say we are the first community, we think, in Ohio to hold a large-scale community event post-COVID. And despite the naysayers and some of the people that weren't well-wishing us, we were able to have it with no issues, no COVID outbreaks, none of that stuff. I don't know if you guys got to attend, but our St. Patrick's Day parade was pretty huge. Thousands of people attended, and the thanks we got from the community from giving them some normalcy was quite a bit. So we were very happy to do that. Moving forward with our community events, we're sticking with our family movie night that we're going to have in July over at the Senior Center. I mean, not the Senior Center, the History Center. We have that in the lawn there. We set a big inflatable movie screen up. So that'll be July 24th. And then we're going to have our Family Fun Day again on the last Saturday in August 28th. Some other notable things, we have some economic development programs that we're developing with some of our neighboring communities. Hopefully we'll have some more news on that soon, but once that comes to fruition, should help bring a lot of new development economically into the township to fill a lot of our vacant spaces, especially our industrial spaces that are sitting vacant. We have two parks, as you know. One you're pretty familiar with is Haddon Park. I don't know if you guys have been over there, but taking very good care of it, we believe. And we had the softball league got a grant from the Cleveland Indians for the new baseball dirt that they've spread on the new field. We got a sponsorship from Classic Buick to pay for the construction of a pavilion at the park. And then we also got a donation in the future when it comes time to run sewer lines to put in bathrooms at no cost to the township. So phase 1, if you will be the pavilion. Phase 2 will then be the bathrooms. We're hoping in the next year or two as we can find funding. The idea is to have this at net zero cost to township residents and to find all outside funding and donations to pay for this, which we did with the pavilion and we're trying to do with the bathrooms. Our second park is on Bull Hall Road next to Fire Station 2. It's a pretty large lot. We're going to be naming that as a memorial park of my grandfather, Angelo Cicconetti, who was township trustee, a 60-year resident in Painesville Township, and also Lake County dog warden for many, many years. So far, we've been able to raise nearly $100,000 for that park. Again, no cost to Painesville Township residents, all from community businesses, Luberzall being our biggest contributor at this point. Road surfacing projects. From last year through the end of this year, we'll have 13 road projects that we'll be completing through our levy and through public works grants that we've gotten. And as I think everybody's been eagerly awaiting, Madison Avenue started today. They're milling that and doing the repairs on the wall. They say that will be done by the end of the summer, hopefully before school starts. So that's something we're all, crossing our fingers and hope happens by then. It's a long-awaited project that needs to be done. Fairgrounds completed their new youth center. I don't know if anybody's seen that, but that's a very nice center that's available to the community to use and rent out. It's a pretty large center with a full kitchen, so that's a very nice addition to our township. And we have a new app. We launched that about a month ago. It's pretty comprehensive. If you've downloaded the Sheriff's app, the Lake County Sheriff, it's the same company that did that app. We're doing with our township, so it has very easy navigation, and we feel it gives residents no better way to communicate and contact the township because of the forms and the contact us and reports that you can do right on there. And then it allows us to do push notifications, which is nice because when there's closures or emergencies or anything like that, it allows us to put out push notifications instantly to notify residents. So if there's anything that you guys ever come up with that needs to get out, you think, to the public, let us know through the administration, and we can push out a push notification to anybody that's downloaded our app. So, and then the last thing, we take a lot of pride in, we were one of the first communities to reopen our government buildings and our public meetings for public attendance. We felt that was very important to get people back in to be able to petition and talk to their government and be in front of their government. So we pushed to make that happen early on, and we're proud of being able to do that. So that's really all I have at this point. And if you guys have any questions, I'm more than happy.
Right. So I know on Manor Avenue, down about half a mile from Hell Regals, there's construction going on. Towards Meadow?
Oh, yes, I forgot to hit on that. Thank you. The corner of Chatham Drive, right by Dairy Queen. So that is a company called Safe Store, and it's a concept that's down south Florida, really. What they do is they build higher end, it's nothing exciting unfortunately, but higher end indoor storage, and that the building that they design actually looks like a very, like a 3-level office building. So from the exterior, you would think it's an actual office building, and we push with our new design standards that we have in that corridor, which is more Western Reserve. We really push them to make some changes. So when you see that building come up, you're going to drive by and never really believe that it's indoor storage. It's going to look like a full-blown office building, windows and everything on the exterior, but it's really indoor storage. So, and that project, they should be done here by the end of the summer because they're trucking along now. The land prep was the biggest thing, and once they get that going, they'll throw a building up pretty quick nowadays. So, yeah, but I think that was the one I had on here and I missed, but yeah, that was it. Anything else?
Things are moving well.
Yeah, we're trying to move along pretty well and get things going back. We had a lot of things a lot of irons in the fire, and things kind of slowed down for the last year, as we know, but we're trying to stoke it and get it going again pretty quick.
So the housing market is taking off everywhere.
It's
What's
insane.
it doing in Painesville Township?
These developers, it's besides the cost of materials, which is insane, but aside from that, they can't build these houses fast enough. Cali Farms, they sold that faster than they ever thought, and these phases down in Fairway Pines again are selling so fast, and they're not cheap houses. $300-400 homes, $300,000-400,000 homes are selling so quick. So that's why we're seeing a lot of these projects that have been sitting kind of dormant, like Tanner Farms, the Brooks, developers coming in and buying them because they know they've seen no better time to sell and develop homes than right now. So they're all trying to take advantage while they can. So.
Good deal.
Yeah. Anybody else? No? All right.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks.
That concludes our special reports.
All right. That takes us next then to old business, if anyone has anything. All right. How about new business?
So I have something for new business. I had, just because I didn't want to broadside anyone, I do think that with all the information that has come out since we originally made the policies regarding face masks and controls for the coronavirus, that it would behoove us to have a discussion as a board to determine if we are still on the right course or not. And additionally, just as I really wanted to understand as well what our responsibilities were and what our latitudes were with regard to the Lake County Health District as well as to the Ohio Department of Health. And so I reached out to Dan McIntyre and I asked that basic question. And his reply was, and I'm happy I will forward this email on, his reply was that ODH and the local health board really are making recommendations. They're not requirements. So we as a board have latitude in determining how we would implement the further COVID restrictions. And when we first made these, really put the requirements and the policies in place, there was still some unknowns regarding what was going on with the virus and how it affected the population, the school-age population, and how best to minimize any impact. Well, it's no longer novel. We know what's going on. We know what the impacts are to those 20 and younger. We have a lot of information regarding symptomatic, asymptomatic people, and really students, and whether it transitions to teachers or back and forth. There's a lot of new information out there, and I think we need to sit down and have a conversation as a board to determine whether or not we're where we really need to be. Additionally, I have had some correspondence with Ron Graham, who's the Lake County General Health District Director, and he would be willing to also provide his input at a work session as well, so that we would understand all the players involved in any potential change that we might make. So with that, I would propose that we would have a work session, and I don't know if I probably need to make a motion, do I not?
We can just schedule, we don't need the board, we can just schedule one and.
Okay.
Are you looking for May?
Do you want to have a separate work session? Can we do it before the next board meeting, like for an hour? Like, is that
Well,
enough time, do you think?
I would tell you that I would actually like to do it sooner than later. And just because if we are going to make a change, then I'd like to have it in place for the end of the year, before the end of the year. So I would be an advocate of having it next week if we could. And I did, as a precursor, I did reach out to Ron Graham, and he's available in the evening next week and would accommodate our schedule if we were able to move forward as such.
I can do any day next week with the exception of Monday.
I'm good any time except Wednesday evening.
So Tuesday or Thursday?
I'm only available Tuesday.
You're only available Tuesday?
All right.
How about Tom, or Jack and Lori for Tuesday?
Yeah, unless you want to have a single party.
Yeah. Well, you can still do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lori, do you say Tuesday works for you?
It's May 4th, right?
Yeah, that's May 4th.
Yeah.
So, and the 4th works for me as well, so,
All right, 6 p.m. for the usual, that's what our usual work session time is?
yeah, perfect.
For Tuesday?
Tuesday, May 4th at 6. And you'll
May
get,
4th, that's not a good day.
Ron Graham know?
I'll let him know and ask him to attend, so 6 p.m. and he'll probably be in here.
I'd imagine. Yep.
All right, and that's all I have.
Perfect, thank you. Anybody else for new business? All right, that takes us then to Board of Education Committee and Liaison Reports, Superintendent's Business Advisory. I left all my notes at home.
There's not a next meeting scheduled yet.
Yeah,
I talked to Dr. Bassett, so maybe we'll have that by the next meeting.
yeah, we talked about the senior projects a little bit
Right.
on the call, just how they're gonna be trying to do something still for the kids. But certainly not what we've had in the past, but I literally have an entire list of things and I left it all home, I'm sorry. This is one of those days. Curriculum and Programming Committee Boosters, Mr. Miley.
Yes, we have not had a meeting since the last meeting, so we'll get one going here this month.
What have the boosters been doing? I know they've been doing virtual call, looks like a lot of virtual meetings for the independent, or all the individual boosters.
They have?
Like the elementaries have been, I've seen them on their Facebook pages.
Oh, the elementary, okay, I don't know then.
I know I've seen some virtual fundraisers too, like I saw Lamouth had something out for, was it, Chipotle?
Yeah.
Things like that.
Yeah,
Well, all the
Mark-
schools are
Marcos.
doing certain things, it's just that this group, I haven't heard of any meetings from this group,
From RPTA.
yeah.
All right, buildings and grounds operation alumni, Mr. Hack.
Yeah, we had a meeting on March 25th, and you know, it was still kind of winter at that point, and as I think I mentioned earlier, we did have kind of a tough winter with our roofs, and but they were kind of settling out, but we really are in a situation with regard to Lamouth, where we do have 2 boilers there, but frankly, they're getting old, and so we are going to have to put together a game plan and put together a timeline in order to replace them. So we will have to have further discussion. We haven't really gotten to that point yet, but it's definitive that the boiler situation at Lamouth is just, it's not a long-term stable situation. We're gonna have to replace that. The roofing, the roofs at Buckeye is, really has issues as well, and so we'll have to have some work there, done there to secure it for next winter, and that is going to be, you know, something we'll discuss at future buildings and grounds. On the agenda tonight, we have for approval the concrete work at both Parkside and Riverview. As you may all recall, there was some pitting, and we had a long discussion, and we'll probably talk more about that when we actually get to the resolution that we vote on. But that is moving forward. So hopefully next year we will have, or this summer we will have that issue taken care of, and we'll have concrete that we can all be proud of. And I'm sorry, just a couple other things. I did attend the last Riverside Alumni Association meeting, and one of the things that they asked me to point out is on the Riverside Alumni website, they have something called the Beaver Bulletin board, and people can submit things, achievements or memories that they have from Riverside, and they can, those will be updated on the Beaver Bulletin board. I did look through it, and there are some kind of cool achievements, and then there were some memorials as well to unfortunately to Riverside graduates who had passed away. But that is a new feature, and I wanted to bring that up to everyone. The scholarships, there will be 2 scholarships this year. Typically there are more, but in the last year we've not been able to raise much money because of the coronavirus lockdown and other facets of the reaction to the coronavirus. So there are going to be 2 scholarships this year, and submissions are due May 1st, which is obviously coming up. So if anybody's interested, you can go to the alumni website and get the forms to make an application. Most of the the class reunions have been canceled for this year. The exception being that the class of 2015 reunion is underway, and it's going to be at the Bonnet, if I'm pronouncing that right, winery. So that's going to happen, but most of the other events, most of the other reunions are not going to happen. And if people want details, I can go to the website and find out specifically if their class is still moving forward. The last thing I have to add is that Tom Trombley, who has been was a former board member and has been the president of the Alumni Association for about the last 18 months or so, he's actually moving and moving outside the district. And so he has resigned, and there is no definitive replacement for him, but Bill Geyer, who is the vice president, will continue to take the lead, and there will be meetings. And the next meeting is on May 12th, and we'll be here at Riverside, and they start at 7 o'clock.
You know, let Tom know that with Zoom, he doesn't have to resign.
There was much discussion and
Right.
much
Yeah.
encouragement to stay, but at this point, he has other things going on as well that
Sure.
preclude him from continuing, I guess is how I might speak for him.
Can I ask a question about the boilers at Lamouth? I thought we did projects with the boilers at Lamouth.
We did do some repairs, they were like a Band-Aid basically to get us through. So we're looking at doing like a full replacement, which we'll have to go out and have it spec'd out and bid out, which we're aiming for, not this summer, but the following summer. So we gotta get through one more heating season with it.
Yeah, you're 100% right, we did. The boilers are in sections, and what we tried to, the hope that we had for the work to be done would be that I don't know, what you call them, seams, I'm not sure, the connections between the different compartments of the boiler.
Joints.
Say again, please?
Joints.
The joints just, they were unable to make a permanent, a long-term improvement to the boilers.
I don't know, maybe I'm just thinking of a different school or whatever. I just know that we do a lot of boiler projects, so that's just,
Yeah,
I
we did do
know we
some-
did the chillers.
We
at
did do
Lamouth,
some
but-
work at Duluth, but
Yeah.
didn't address the long-term issues.
Okay.
That's it.
All right, thank you. Policy and strategic plan, Mrs. Krasinski?
So for policy, we've not had a meeting, but we did receive a lot of policy to review just recently with some updates to some language. And Mrs. Grassi and I are taking a look at that. We most likely will see a first reading in May of the policy. And then strategic planning, I know that Patty Cosgrove has met with the administration and also with staff throughout the district. And she's also looking to schedule time with each of us again to meet via Zoom. I think everybody, when I went on today, I think everybody was signed up. Jack, I don't know if you had a chance.
No, I didn't know I saw that email. We were supposed to sign up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right,
But she wants to do it like the end of May or something, right?
They
25
were
or
the
27?
25th and
Yeah,
23rd,
25
23rd and 25th or
It's
something, yeah.
25th and 27th.
27th.
Yeah, okay.
Right, but you could, unfortunately, you could see the spreadsheet, but you couldn't edit it.
So I was able to edit.
They
Because I
fixed
had-
it.
They fixed it.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Because you could not at first, you're right.
Right,
Okay.
okay.
Yeah, so we just need to make sure we're signed up for that, but things are moving forward with our strategic planning. And that is it.
Okay, that takes us on to the superintendent's report, Dr. Kalis.
Thank you.
Easy pass, Linda.
There we go. This is just a quick update. We had 21 COVID-19 cases district-wide since our last board meeting on March 23rd. This is up from 16 COVID cases between the February and March board meetings. But if you look at the bottom of the next bullet point, we had 0 staff members. That was the first time since October that we've had no known staff members test positive, which is good. As of today, we have a total of 235 cases at school this year, 162 students, 73 staff. And we just had, I think it was just 4 staff members that were out during this last period, just waiting for test results. So everything is looking pretty good. One thing I wanted to mention to the board, we already sent the survey out, but we've been asked by the ESC and the health department to send out a survey asking our parents of 16 and 17-year-olds as to whether or not they want their students vaccinated. They wanted to gauge the level of interest within not only our school district, but 16 other schools or schools and school districts in Lake County. And the survey was really quick. It asked basically 4 questions. One was, what school district does the student reside in? Whether or not, as a parent, if they were interested in having their 16 or 17-year-old child vaccinated, and how many children are eligible for vaccination in that household should they choose vaccination, and whether or not the student has already been vaccinated. And this is the chart that was provided to us from Lake County ESC. And if you look, closer to the bottom, Riverside, we had 279 parents respond. 120 said yes, they'd be interested, 159 no. 41 students have already been vaccinated, and 141 students in our district would be interested in having the vaccination. Now what that means, I don't have an answer for you yet, because they just recently have these numbers. We sent them out on Monday, the survey, I believe.
It was yesterday afternoon.
Yeah, yesterday afternoon. So we don't know whether or not they're going to ask to have some type of clinic here, or whether or not these numbers are low enough that they would have them somewhere else. I'm not sure how the board feels about it, but I figure, so long as it's parents that are interested in the vaccination, we can obviously work with the ESC and the health department, obviously giving parents a choice on whether or not they want their children vaccinated. Again, it's only for 16 and 17-year-olds. I'll give you more of an update once I receive more information. Beginning with the 2021 school year, districts must register with Safe Ohio tip line or a permissible alternative. The Safer Ohio tip line is operated by the Ohio Department of Public Safety. Now, in the past, we've had the student helpline, which was a contracted service that we would have where kids can call in anonymously, or parents giving us a tip, and then they would let us know, the company, and we would look into it and investigate with what we could. We figured with what they were providing, we could do our own tip line, which we did for a while. And now the state is trying to get more consistent service out there to all school districts. And we have to either subscribe with them or a permissible company. So the anonymous reporting program operates 24/7. The information reported is forwarded to the appropriate school personnel and also law enforcement and public safety agencies. And we're going to promote this to our students about the program and its reporting methods. And we're going to comply, obviously, with security and confidentiality and student privacy laws. The anonymous reporting data, if we're going to be working with the Department of Public Safety, we're going to have to include some data points, and we have to send those data points to their department. Some of the data will include the number and type of disciplinary actions taken in the previous year as a result of the reports received. Also, the number and type of mental wellness referrals as a result of the anonymous report. Race and gender of students subject to disciplinary actions and mental wellness referrals, and any other information the Department of Education or Public Safety Department determine necessary. Some of the other provisions in this is that staff needs to be trained with youth suicide awareness and prevention. Nurses, teachers, counselors, school psychologists, and other appropriate school personnel trained once every 2 years. This training reporting data will begin in the 2023-2024 school year. So basically, we're going to start the tip line this coming school year, but we don't have to do the training and the reporting until 2023-2024. Also, there's a student instruction component as well. That will begin also 2023-2024 school year. The Act requires each school district through their health curriculum to use an approved training program to provide instruction for grades 6 through 12 of at least 1 hour or one standard class period per school year, and they need to be trained or instructed in the following: suicide awareness and prevention, safety training and violence prevention, and evidence-based social inclusion instruction. And if a parent is not all that interested in having their students part of the training, there is a way that they can opt out as well. So as I said before, our current tip line is 358-8228. We're going to keep that line up until this one is active at the start of the school year. And basically what that tip line is just another line on our phone system. And when we have a tip on there, it will let us know, we listen to it, and then we investigate what we hear. I will let the board know, again, when we have this implemented. We're kind of excited about it because it does take it to the next level. It's more consistent too, and more eyes are on issues. We also have a team, assessment team in our district too, that will look at different types of threats and assess how serious they are. And what we need to do is not only as a school district, but what we have to do with emergency agencies as well. Strategic plan, just an update. Mrs. Krasinski already mentioned this. Central office met with strategic plan facilitators on March 26th. We also have the facilitators scheduling meetings with district directors and administrators on May 10th, which is just right around the corner. Also Board of Education on May 25th and 27th, and district staff members on June 2nd. One of the things we got out of the first discussions, which I think we're excited about, and I think the board will be happy about it, is not necessarily deviating away from everything that we had with the first strategic plan between 2013 and 2016. But we also are looking at adding a component of advocacy in our district, and looking at some issues that school districts are facing and getting more involved in our ability to interact with the state ODE and our state legislators as well. Something we did, back in February of 2020 with vouchers. You recall we went down to the state to testify. I wanted to mention this is something that, you kind of take for granted, is prom. We didn't have prom last year, but we have prom this year. In the past,
Looks like a picture.
I know, I just picked it off the internet, I don't know.
Actually?
Yeah, I did, and I think it has 1985 on it, which is my year.
I just asked Jennifer, it was you.
I was
That's
like, do we
not
know
me.
who that is?
So what was the haircut?
The
Mullet.
mullet?
Mullet. Yeah, it's kind of mullet.
I knew back in 1985, a mullet was not a good thing.
You were a stylish
That's right.
man even back then, right?
No, I wasn't a stylish guy. So prom, typically, we have 217 student attendees. The difference between, previous years and this year is we're allowing only seniors to bring a date to prom. In the past, we've had maybe around 400, I think was about the average, attend prom. This year, we have 217. It's going to be from 6:30 to 10 o'clock at the Croatian Center in Eastlake. We're putting kids 8 to 10 to the table, and while they're at the table, there's no mask. They can eat, they can drink. There are some mask protocols in place if they're close and they're dancing and things like that. I'm not sure how all that's going to work when you have 217 kids dancing on a dance floor. But our administrators are there. We ran the plan through the health department again, and it appears that school districts are all, I thought we would be one of the first ones to have prom, but I understand that there were some proms last.
Yeah, my son was to prom last weekend with his girlfriend goes to Beaumont.
Yeah,
The prom was
so
at the
it's
zoo.
happening, and we're happy about it too, giving the kids obviously an opportunity to go to prom this year. I'll have more information at the May meeting also on the details with commencement as well, and how it's going to be different. It's going to be outside. We're trying to streamline it as well, because obviously the venue isn't as comfortable as it would be at the Menor Fine Arts Center. You're going to have some of our probably grandparents sitting on bench seats up in the football stands, and we're still going to have it obviously, but we're going to try to streamline it a little bit, make it go a little faster. Plus, we don't know what the weather's going to be like as well. And that concludes my report.
Excellent. Thank you very much. All right, Ms. Letco, you're up. Treasurer's report.
Back to the finance committee first.
Oh, sorry, we're
Yeah,
looking. So you,
sorry.
what,
Right, so we did change up the order of
We did.
the Finance and Audit and Personnel Committee, just to put it in front of the Treasurer's report, because a lot of what we had to say we discussed at our meeting. So we did have a meeting on Wednesday, April 21st at 8 a.m. We did discuss briefly a number of topics, nothing in great length, but we talked about the 5-year forecast that's coming up in May, and how House Bill 110 is the Ohio budget, how that's going to affect the 5-year forecast, but nothing's set in stone yet. So We discussed how we would be putting revenue into the 5-year forecast. More on that in May when that's due. We briefly discussed an update on the workers' comp issues that we had talked about in our previous 2 finance committee meetings. And Mr. Platko will be in contact when it's time to renew the contracts that we have currently for our sheriff's deputies that at our buildings. We talked about the ESSER 3 funds and the total of all the ESSER funds that we have received. We have on the agenda this evening an adjustment of our appropriations to have a resolution so that we can spend down those funds. So that is on the agenda. We talked about the last change order that's coming due for the welding lab for some electrical work. And we also did touch on the concrete update and the upcharge that is on the agenda for this evening. Other than that, that was it. That I remember.
Any questions? All right, then here, Mr. Placco.
All right, just to give a little more update regarding the federal stimulus money, which is the ESSER money. ESSER 2, that was the 1.6 million or so that we received. That's been fully spent at this point. A cash request is in with the Ohio Department of Education. They'd only let us submit for 90% of it at this point. They're holding back 10% for allocation adjustments or things like that. And the state of Ohio ran out of appropriations, so we're still waiting for the legislature to adjust that so they can actually release those funds once those cash requests are approved. So we should be receiving, once that's updated, we should be receiving $1,480,000 from that, and then we'll be able to submit for the remaining 10% in the near future. We also announced our ESSER 3 allocation, which is the 3rd round of stimulus money. Our final initial allocation is $3,693,000. 20% of that is required to spent on addressing learning loss. So that's about $738,000 that we have to use for summer learning and addressing learning loss over the next 3 years. We have till September of 2024 to spend those funds. With our current spending plan, we were doing the remote teacher salaries. We'll be using the April through June 30th pays this fiscal year towards ESSER 3, and then also the July and August pays as well in next fiscal year, assuming the application comes out next week as planned and we get that submitted and approved. Once we finish the school year and set aside the 20% for learning loss, we'll still have about $1,590,000 to determine how to spend next school year. A couple other quick updates. Mrs. Grassi talked about House Bill 110, which is the House version of the budget. If you recall, when the governor released his proposal, he basically froze school funding for the next 2 years with an increase to student wellness funds. The House budget that was approved in, I think it was last week, incorporated the Fair School Funding Plan, which I was going to pass out just a copy of the simulations for that. If the House budget goes through as it is for school funding, we will see an increase in funding of based on these projections, next fiscal year we receive an extra $216,000. The following year, an additional $96,000 on top of that amount. But as we all know with the state budget process, this is nowhere near final. We have 2 different proposals between the governor and the House. My understanding is the Senate might be going in a different direction. And just like always, we won't know until June 30th, pretty much somewhere around that time, or even possibly after if they don't meet that deadline.
Plus,
So,
they each get line item details, right?
right. There's also the possible details and all that stuff. So, it's exciting to see that the Fair School Funding Plan is closer to reality, but they still have to get through the Senate, and so we will see how that pans out. The spreadsheet that I just handed out, this actually comes from the state of Ohio. And it kind of shows our fiscal year 21 adjusted, because one of the biggest changes with the Fair School Funding Plan is that we are actually funded based on the students we are educating. There's not a pass-through of charter school funding and other things that run through our district. So it gets rid of all that confusion of state funding, so we're just actually funded based on who we are actually educating. So which would be good, that would alone would be a good change, just to kind of separate the two, and you can actually explain that we get funded based on who we're educating and not funded based on who lives in our community and then deduct money and transfer money around. So that'll be a good change if that becomes reality. One thing my office always does every year is and this is common with school districts across Ohio, is that we always get notice of when taxpayers file a property tax complaint against a valuation in excess of $50,000, both commercial and residential. And what's interesting this year is, even with the pandemic, we only had 4 residential taxpayers that filed decreased complaints this year, and we had 0 commercial ones, which kind of surprised me. We confirmed at the auditor's office that we had no commercial decreased complaints, which is quite unusual for even a normal year, let alone being a pandemic. So I just thought I would share that with the board, because I just thought that was interesting and unusual. As we know, interest rates have gone down significantly since the pandemic began. Star Ohio is now down to 8 basis points, so that's 0.08%. So I actually transferred $6 million out of Star Ohio into our checking account down a hold in there, because we get an earnings credit against our balance in our checking account of 10 basis points, and that's used to offset fees. So instead of earning interest at 8 basis points in Star Ohio, we're going to not incur as much fees in our Huntington account. So it's a benefit of 2 basis points. It's not a big change, but it's, I just point out to the board, when you review the financials, you'll notice that there'll be a larger balance in our checking account until rates go back the other way. Or unless the checking account reduces the earnings credit, then we'll switch it back the other way as well. Another update, you all remember the whole Discovery Tours disaster years ago with them closing unexpectedly. Joseph Cipolleti, who is facing federal charges of embezzling $600,000 from Discovery Tours, his trial date has been scheduled for June 14th, and so we'll be monitoring the progress of that. And then finally, last week we had the work session regarding phase 2 of the facilities plan, with us targeting possibly 2022 to pick that up. I've reached out to TDA and the OFCC, Mike Purcell and Dave Riley, to give them notice that we're going to begin reviewing that as well. TDA is going to get us some dates to get the committee together to kind of brush the dust off, see where we were at, what was in that plan, should we make any changes to that plan, what cost updates we need to make, and so on. The OFCC will need to have us approve a new ELP agreement at some point in the near future, and they will do another enrollment study as well. As we know that when they did in 2019, they're way off from where we are in reality. They were projecting much lower than where we're at, so they're going to update that. And then we're also going to monitor the Biden American Jobs Plan, because if that becomes a reality, there was $100 million set aside for school construction. We don't know what that entails and what that looks like, but according to someone that works for Priscilla, there's, if you remember, you may not even remember this from about a decade ago, there was what was called qualified school construction bonds. My previous district at Orange took advantage of that, and basically you issue bonds for improvements, and the federal government was paying the interest on those bonds. The whole sequestration thing, you remember that years ago, so that got reduced a little bit, but it was a very good borrowing opportunity. So there's a possibility that could be something like that could be incorporated in that plan, that something that you might be able to take advantage of. But it's still way too early to know details or even if that's a possibility, but something that we'll keep an eye on. I think that pretty much concludes my report, unless there's any questions.
Yeah, I just have one. So the money, I think we talked about it at the finance meeting, but my mind is just drawing a blank on that for a moment, but the money that we're using from the ESSER funds, we have the anticipation of putting some transfers on the agenda prior to the end of the year.
Right. On the June 29th agenda, at the end of the fiscal year, we will make a transfer to PI of what the savings we realized to use for those projects using the ESSER funding.
Great. Anybody else? All right, that takes us to public participation. Anyone wishing to address the Board of Education will be recognized by the Board President. Speakers are requested to identify themselves and their topic. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. Yes, Mr. Chicanetti?
So you want me to state my name and address?
Just your name, you're good.
Gabe Cicconetti. This is funny because I actually was hanging out to discuss this, and then Mr. Hack brought it up. The masks in the school. I know you guys have not had an easy time going with this and making everybody happy, keeping up with this or that, but you know, I know high school kids are much different than the younger kids in elementary schools, and that's what I want to address. That's where my kids are. You know, we've gotten to a point where kids aren't wearing masks when they eat lunch together. Kids aren't wearing masks when they're out at recess. So they're spending this face-to-face time together without masks on, which I like and I'm in favor of. But then when they're sitting at their desks, mouth closed, not talking, they have to sit with their mask on all day long, right? And I just can't see the logic in that when you weigh it against the other things that have been put into place, which I'm very thankful for and agree with. So I just wanted to ask, and you brought it up, was to really look at the reasoning behind kids sitting down, not talking at their tables, with the same kids they eat lunch with no masks on, why they need to sit there for hours on end with a mask on their face while they're trying to learn. Granted, it's not going to get super hot, but especially with the warm months coming up, you know, we have that again to the equation of an already kids antsy to get out of school. You know, it's already hot in these schools, as we know, with the no air conditioning. So you add this other layer of mask on their face that really, at this point, especially with all these teachers getting the vaccine that wanted it because it's available to everybody. So the teachers that want the vaccine are vaccinated. The kids are spending time face-to-face with each other without masks on. I just feel that, along with many things that happen along the lines here with this COVID, is we're doing things that just to do them that really don't make sense when you weigh them against the other things we're doing. And I think that's where we're really at with these masks on the kids in class all day long. So I just wanted to ask that this is something you guys would consider, and I think that you're already taking the steps to do that. And I conversation with Mr. Graham, and I think, again, what we did with the township, things are guidance, like you mentioned, and that's why we took the steps to do what we thought was right and open up the township and have our events and those type of things, because at some point somebody has to break through all of this stuff that's going on. And I think there's an opportunity here to take it further and do the right things for our kids, getting rid of these masks when they're sitting down. If you want to put it in hallways or whatever, that's a compromise, it is what it is, but when they're sitting at the tables with their mouth closed, just sitting there learning all day, I think that it's time that we get them out of their masks and take that away from them and get them back to even more normalcy as much as we can. So that was something that I wanted to bring up. So got brought up anyways, but I figured I stayed anyway, so I would bring it up and just let you know. And this, again, you guys all know I'm a pretty outspoken person, and sometimes it's good and sometimes it's bad, but I have a lot of conversation with residents who contact me because they know where I stand on a lot of these COVID things. And there's a lot of parents out there who would support. Sure, you're always going to have, just like in what we do, you're always going to have people that are against it, right? But I think you'll find you have way more than you probably think in favor of getting rid of these things for the kids. So I just wanted to put that out there. A couple things that came up, if I could ask, that came up in the reports. As far as that survey goes, do you know with the vaccines for the kids, do you know if they said that they already got the vaccine for their kid? Did it take them out of it? Did it disqualify for that first question of, would you get the vaccine for your kid? So parents said yes, but then said they already got them vaccinated. Are they counted in both sections on that? Do you know? Do you know what I'm asking?
Kind of like double counted.
I'm sorry?
Kind of like double counted.
Yeah, so it says 121 said yes and 41 already got it done. Are those 41 counted in the 120 that said they would do it? Because that was the first question, and then they got the follow-up question, have you had it done? Well, yeah, but they already answered yes, I would get it done.
Please don't hold me to this because again, I don't have the data in front of me, but my understanding is there was a set of parents that answered, a set of parents that said they've already had it, and the resulting number are just the kids that still were interested in getting it.
Okay,
So-
so it wasn't a double?
No, not to my knowledge.
Okay.
But, and that report is gonna be updated daily, so.
Okay.
Because I think there was 200 and some responses, if I'm not mistaken, and there was like 40s kids have already had the vaccine, and then you're left with like 141, because the family might have more than one child.
Yeah, because it said 279 responded total, but if you add up the would get and wouldn't get, that's 279. So total respondents equals those two questions, and then you have your additional 41. So it would appear that the 41 would be counted in that respondents. Double counted.
That's not our data though, is it?
Well, it's also possible they responded no because they already had it.
Yeah, right, but I'm just saying,
It is
if
now.
279 total responded, 120 say yes, 159 say no, and 41 say they got it. So if 120, 159 equal to 279, and I know it's not your data, I just didn't know if you knew how deep this went to see if they were, since only 279 responded, and those two numbers equal 279, if that 41, what looks like it was probably encompassed in that 120 as well, but it wasn't your data, so that I'm not real clear, but I thought maybe you might know. But that's all I have, so.
Thank you very much. All right, that takes us to consent agenda. Consent agenda provides for a more efficient use of time. Any board member can remove a consent agenda item to be discussed and voted on individually. Finance and audit is first.
Sure, we have a motion to approve the items listed on the finance and audit consent agenda as recommended by the treasurer, items A through J. Can I have a second?
I'll second it.
I just want to bring up the donations and say thank you to Pick Up On Call, who made a donation to the Riverside Academic Decathlon, from Petrie Company, DBA American Tire and Auto Service, who made a donation to Riverside Beaver softball, and from Wendy and Chris Petrie, who also made a donation to Riverside Beaver softball. So we thank those individuals and businesses. Is there any other discussion on the items A through J? All right, well, if not, can you call the roll, Mr. Placco?
Linda Grassi,
Aye.
Tom Hack,
Aye.
Lori Kniske,
Aye.
Jack Miley,
Aye.
Jennifer Harden.
Aye. Motion carried. Personnel.
Yes, we have a motion to approve the items listed on the personnel consent agenda as recommended by the superintendent, items A through E.
Second.
Thank you. Are we having the summer workers put on the agenda anytime soon, or is that in May?
Most likely we'll have it in May. I'm gonna have to talk to Mr. Olesic about it as well.
Bless
Bless
you.
you.
If there's no other questions on items A through E, can you call the roll, Mr. Placco?
Tom Hack,
Aye.
Lori Kniske,
Aye.
Jack Miley,
Aye.
Jennifer Harden,
Aye.
Linda Grassi.
Aye.
Motion carried. Curriculum programming.
Motion to approve the items listed on the curriculum and programming consent agenda as recommended by the superintendent A through E.
A second.
Thank you. Any discussion?
I was gonna mention that most of this professional development that we're approving is gonna be paid from federal grant funds.
Great.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead and call the roll then.
Lori Kniske,
Aye.
Jack Miley,
Aye.
Jennifer Harden,
Aye.
Linda Grassi,
Aye.
Tom Hack.
Aye.
Motion carried. Buildings and grounds.
Motion to approve the items on the buildings and grounds consent agenda, items A through C, as recommended by the superintendent. May I have a second, please?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Krasinski. Any discussion? All right, can you call the roll, please?
Jack Miley,
Aye.
Jennifer Harden,
Aye.
Linda Grassi,
Aye.
Tom Hack,
Aye.
Lori Kniske.
Aye.
Motion carried. And that takes us into the Board of Education update, if anyone's got anything.
Yes, I would just like to congratulate teacher at our high school, Jamie McIntyre, for being nominated for Teacher of the Year, and just good luck to her in that process as it progresses.
Anything else? All right. With that, we wrap this out tonight. Our next meeting will actually be next week, May 4th, for a work session at 6 p.m., followed by a finance and audit personnel meeting on May 20th at 8 a.m., and our normal business meeting on May 25th at 7 p.m. With that, I will make a motion to adjourn at 8 p.m. on the dot. If I can have a second, please.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Hack. Call roll, please.
Jennifer Harden,
Aye.
Linda Grassi,
Aye.
Tom Hack,
Aye.
Lori Kniske,
Aye.
Jack Miley.
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you all. Jean, put the eggs on the front porch.